for the HSG test. That's the test where they test for any blockage in the fallopian tubes. And from what I've read online, it's a pretty uncomfortable and not painful, but just uncomfortable procedure. I'm excited to get this test done. That way we can figure out our path for the month and kind of what route we're going to take. We have two options right now to do another month of timed intercourse, or to jump to IUI, which is exciting. Currently this month, the doctor put me on the Letrozole pill, only 2.5 milligrams. It's a pretty low dose. I have been taking that for the past 5 days. I didn't really have any that bad of side effects. I had a little bit of hot flashes and a little bit of cramping, but nothing unbearable at all. I think that scientific side of me did a lot of research and a lot of reading before I started taking the medicine to see what kind of things people were experiencing while on the medication. And they came back with a lot of symptoms, and it kind of scared me. So I'm glad I didn't have any crazy reactions to it. I do normally ovulate on my own, so this was just something that the doctor prescribed as a nice to have, just especially because it's a really low dose. So today the test, I'm sure they'll take blood because they do every time we go in, and then we'll have to do the procedure. And I'm looking forward to doing the procedure because, like I said, it'll give us the path forward to where we're going this month. With the Letrozole that I'm on, from what I've also been reading, is that when you do Letrozole with IUI, it gives a slightly higher chance of multiples, which we wouldn't be opposed to, but of course it's just something to think about and something to consider when you're thinking about all the very different options. So it's just something to think about. Right now I'm kind of leaning towards the IUI option personally, just because I don't want to do another month of timed intercourse and fail again, even though it's not failing and nothing's wrong, blah, 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 blah. But for me personally, I don't really want to try timed intercourse again and not have a higher chance of getting a positive pregnancy test. Especially if IUI is the best route according to the HSG test that we're going to do today. So it really all depends on the results of today, and of course that'll give us more information for the future too. So it'll be really nice. And then once we figure out the results of today, everything's probably gonna kick into high gear. We have another appointment on Monday, and then if we do IUI, I'm sure we'll have to go back once or twice that week. So a lot of things going on. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous about how the procedure is going to go because I've heard it can be a little uncomfortable and a little bit painful. So I'm excited, but I'm nervous. And I'll take you along, even if it's just for my own memory, for my own keepsakes, for when I do get pregnant. My dog is snoring. To kind of look back and see the journey unfold. I think it's important for us to document and for things to kind of like home movies back in the day, home videos. I think it's so fun to look back on things like that. And when we eventually do get pregnant, I do want to have kind of the steps it took to do it, whether the good, the bad, and in between. So I'm excited, I'm nervous. I'll take you along with me, explain what happened in the test and the procedure after it happens, and kind of hopefully go from there. All right. All right, so I am back, I'm changed, and I wanted to give a little lowdown of what happened. So we first got there, checked in, they took us back the whole 9, and then we went back into the room, the normal ultrasound room that we would always go in. They did a normal vaginal ultrasound, the ones that you get done all the time if you're familiar with fertility clinics and the way things work. So that was totally normal. They did that. She said that she would be back in with the doctor, and so they came back in. They asked if I knew anything about what would happen or the procedure at all. I said no, because I didn't know much besides things that I had read on the internet or read on YouTube or things like that. So they actually said it was going to be really fast, very easy. She said you might feel some pain, and that once they get in, I would feel a little cramp through my cervix. They would shoot the dye up, check the ultrasound, and then take it out. She said it would be faster to do it than it would be to explain the procedure, is what she had said. Once they started, they realized that I had a tilted cervix. So that means that I guess the opening of my cervix is a little bit higher than most people. So it actually became a little difficult for the doctor and the nurse to insert the tube. So the nurse had to actually press down on my stomach, and I could feel myself bleeding just from being able to sensitize what was happening down there. And she pressed on my stomach a little bit. They tried a different pair of clamps. And by clamps, I mean the normal metal things that you use at the gyno. They switched out the normal tube that they normally use, I guess, for this procedure, and used an IUI tube because I guess they're a little bit more stiff and could have less give. So it was pretty painful, I'm not going to lie, when they were trying to find the opening of my cervix and find everything going on. It was pretty painful. My husband Ryan was next to me, and he ended up grabbing my hand because he could tell that I was in I was pretty uncomfortable and pretty I guess you could tell that I looked pretty distressed from my face. So he came over and held my hand, and I couldn't ask for a better partner in this because he really does give me so much support throughout everything. So once they were able to get in and that was finally completed, I did feel an intense cramp. So it wasn't like a light period cramp. It was a pretty intense, like, oh, my period is like about to start. That was a pretty bad cramp. So they, when she said that, I was like, oh, and cause I had some pain, so I spoke, just like involuntarily. And she said, oh, I guess that means we're in. So she did the dye. She took out the clamp to make me a little bit more comfortable. Then the nurse went back in with the vaginal ultrasound, to see that if the dye went into each fallopian tube, she could tell, whether it was coated and things like that. So good news is that they found out that my tubes are open. So that's fantastic. They're clear and open and all is good. They ended up pretty much leaving the room once that was over. I know she's busy and has other patients. So she pulled everything out, cleaned me up a little bit, and then said, we're all good. We'll see you back for your appointment on Monday, and then we'll go from there. So that was pretty much that with that. I didn't realize how much I was bleeding until I had stood up, and I felt a lot of drips coming out of me. So it took me a little minute to kind of get myself together, clean myself up, and they gave me a pad to walk out just because I wasn't expecting to be bleeding that much. No one had told me that I would be, so I didn't plan on wearing any type of underwear or any type of anything that would help with the fact that I was wearing a pad. So I ended up leaving. I ended up stopping bleeding pretty much like 2 or 3 hours afterwards. I went back to work and really didn't think about it. And by the time dinner happened, which my appointment was at 1 o'clock, I pretty much had stopped bleeding. I was able to take off the pad and relax. And after the procedure, I felt no pain, which is great. I didn't feel uncomfortable walking. I didn't feel uncomfortable doing anything after that. So it was more of just in the moment pain of them having the clamp on, using the specific type of tube, and then also the cramp when they inserted the balloon inside of me. It was really more in the moment pain, so that was really nice to know. We did make the decision to try IUI this month. So our appointment is on Monday for our normal ultrasound and blood work. And then if I'm ovulating like normal, they're guesstimating that the IUI would occur on Tuesday. So that's what we're gonna do. We're very excited. I'm looking forward to hopefully this working this month. I know after reading a lot of statistics that 90% of people who do IUI are successful within 3 months. So that's a really encouraging statistic. And I'm overall just really excited to get the ball rolling, because after waiting for a year to find good news out, I mean, I'm really excited. So yeah, that was the procedure. It was pretty simple, painful in the moment, but we got good news out of it, so that makes me really happy for the future. So yeah, so I'll report back to you on Monday and take you along the journey of the IUI and what happened and the time frame. So I'm really excited. So today has been a whirlwind. Today was the appointment where we went in for our ovulation appointment to basically see where we were at. Technically today is day 14. So in normal circumstances, this would have been the day I ovulated. So I got blood work and ultrasound done. Leaving that appointment, we were in really high spirits because it looked like the follicle was growing really well. Usually on Letrozole, they estimate that your follicle should probably be around 22 millimeters. And mine was about 17, 18. So that seemed like it was going to be really good. So probably within the next day or two, it would have been kind of up to that size. Unfortunately, when we got the blood work back, she said that I actually ovulated already. They don't know if it was because of the Letrozole. She's assuming that my body just had some kind of weird reaction to it, and ovulated earlier. So the blood work showed that I was post-ovulation. And it was really upsetting because we had already decided to do IUI this month. This was the first month we were going to do it. This was the first month we were going to try with IUI. So in the beginning, we were really excited and really looking forward to having good news this month. Hopefully, or at least getting on the right path. We were just really hopeful. We had a really good weekend, and coming into Monday today, we thought it was going to kind of just be a good week, and we were going to come in on Monday and find our day that we were going to have to come back for IUI. Unfortunately, it just is not going to work out. So I am really, really, really disappointed. I thought IUI was going to be really good for us. I was really hopeful. I thought it was going to be really good. So I am pretty frustrated, emotionally drained. Ryan has been a massive support. I couldn't thank him enough with all these bumps and turns and roller coaster of emotions and paths. But so right now we are just waiting to hopefully get pregnant naturally, because we are still trying naturally, even though we were, of course, planning to do an IUI. We were still trying to ourselves, because you never know what could stick. So we did that as well. So once we hear back, whether we hear if I got my period, or if I'm pregnant. If I get my period, I have to call the fertility clinic again and kind of start over with the IUI process for next month. So I'm hopeful, but right now I'm really frustrated and really sad, which is the best way to put it. But here's hoping for next month.